talking about Saturn going into Sagittarius after being retrograde in Scorpio. When a planet goes retrograde into the previous sign, we revisit those themes and the sort of paranoid energy that we were experiencing at that time. Now we're about to make a commitment to what inspires us rather than what we fear. So check this out. So since June 21st, we've had Saturn in Scorpio at about 27 to 30 degrees of Scorpio, and now he's going back into Sagittarius on October 26th. Now, I'm going to be talking about a lot of the social and mainly political shifts that have happened during that time. So if you get, weirded out because you don't like me talking about politics, then just stop watching the video. But it's pretty obvious looking at the politics, again, whether you're on this side or that side or sort of in the middle just watching it, that we're about to embark on another big shift with Saturn going back into Sagittarius. Now, the last time Saturn went into Sagittarius, or I should say the first time, was right after the inauguration of President Trump at the end of January. I believe it was January 29th was the exact day. Or maybe it was right before, very close. Anyway, but what happened is Saturn moving from Scorpio to Sagittarius creates a shift. And we saw a lot of the sort of dark, even sort of paranoid, or the underbelly, or all of the stuff that happened in 2016, especially during that really dark campaign where it was just paranoia and scaring everybody about the other person. Shift somewhat after the election, and you saw at least like a wave of protests and hope from the people against the president, and then of course for the people who just elected him, you saw a wave of hope from their end. So again, there was actually a kind of break in the dark, scary, paranoid, weird sort of energy after the election. It's finally like, okay, he's now president, he's been inaugurated, and so those against him were really aligned to protest, and many even said, this is the best thing that's happened, is him getting elected, because now we have something to push back against. And then of course the others were like, yay, we now have our guy in charge and we're going to get so much done, and we're so hopeful. Saturn then turns retrograde, then goes back into Scorpio, where he's been the whole summer, since literally I think it was the first day of the summer, June 21st until now, and we've had a really dark revisiting of themes that were brought up during that scary, paranoid, weird campaign, including literally specific things from the campaign, like the revisiting of his son, Don Jr., meeting with Russians and all of that. Again, all of these things from the past came back. Firings, getting rid of people, correcting course. Right after that shift, we had major firings of like Spicer and Priebus, and then that Scaramucci guy came in, and then we've also had other changes in the whole sort of team, and most recently, how we can really see this shift now with Saturn right on the verge of going back into Sagittarius, is this vicious backlash from his own party, particularly Bob Corker, Jeff Flake, President Bush, John McCain. People are now very strongly pushing back against the incompetence, the constant drama, the constant untruths. And you're seeing him getting called out for even the just sort of despicable alliance and the refusal to call out white supremacists, the dark underbelly that has been revealed over the summer, particularly with the white supremacists, and the hypocrisy of calling out football players and demagoguing that issue, but not calling out literally white supremacists, saying, well, there's good people on both sides. Now, to be fair, on the other side, those who are firmly aligned with Trump are seeing things like, there was a re-emergence of that dossier and the connections to the Hillary Clinton campaign, which just came out yesterday. I'm recording this on October 25th. And so, I don't know, some people are pretty sort of excited about that, even though there's nothing illegal about opposition research, but people thinking that's going to be a big deal, or those who are aligned in the Trump camp, those who want to see him succeed, are seeing this dissension of Corker and Jeff Flake and Senator McCain as a good thing. They're hopeful, again, Saturn going into Sagittarius, they're hopeful that this means victory for them and getting rid of this old Republican guard. Steve Bannon came out and declared that it was, another victory, another scalp. Jeff Flake not running for re-election, Bob Corker not running for re-election, John McCain seemingly in his last days. So what we're seeing is Saturn on the precipice and on the verge of going back into Sagittarius is renewed hope, renewed willingness to fight for what we think is right. On both sides. Just like we had right after the inauguration. Willingness to fight for what we think is right and to be motivated by what inspires us, Sagittarius, more than what we fear, Scorpio. So this willingness to be aligned with what inspires us, which, let's say, in the anti-Trump people, it's inspiring to see Flake and Corker and McCain finally speaking truth to power and seeing if they can rally more people against him. The same subjects, the same incidents from the other side are seen as, we're inspired that Trump is winning. He's defeating these people. He's getting these people out of Congress. And he's changing the Republican dynamic so much so that moderate Republicans like Corker and Flake, who are actually even very far right relative to a moderate Republican, no one before Donald Trump would have said that Bob Corker and Jeff Flake are moderate Republicans. They were pretty right-wing conservatives, but Trump is even getting rid of them. So the Trump-Bannon group is also inspired and ready to take on the fight. So notice this energy of Saturn moving from the dark days of Scorpio into the renewed hope and sense of purpose of Sagittarius. You probably feel this in your own life as well. Again, since the summer, it's felt pretty heavy and pretty dark with Saturn going back into Scorpio and working through all of the things that we've seen, the fears of potential nuclear war with North Korea. And again, just the ugly underbelly that we have seen culturally with especially the white supremacists. And there was a white supremacist who was going to speak at Florida University last week, and he was shouted down. Again, this is Saturn about to go back into Sagittarius. So again, there's hope in that regard. There's hope in the white supremacist side of the argument, and there's hope on the progressive side for shouting him down. Now, we also need to recognize that Saturn has been hovering at this Gandanta point, at this very edge of the sign, the whole time since June. And this Gandanta point is where there's a lot of turmoil and turbulence, and this turbulence and turmoil has shown in all of the flooding, the vicious floods that we had, the vicious fires, and actually not just in the US, but the flooding in India. They had a huge flood there, or they've had some massive flooding there, and the weather problems. This is because we've had so many of these planets at this Gandanta point, and of course this is purely sidereal zodiac information. For using tropical zodiac, there is no connection between the end of Scorpio, or I'm sorry, the sidereal position and the signs, because if you're not using sidereal zodiac, which you should be because that's been the zodiac for thousands of years, then Saturn has been in Sagittarius the whole time. But we can see pretty clear the difference of revisiting those themes from the campaign from 2016 when Saturn went back into Scorpio. Then he starts moving forward. Now he's right on the verge of Sagittarius again, and we see this big shift. If you're not using sidereal zodiac, then there is no change between Jeshta and Mula and that Gandanta point, which is what we're seeing now, that Jeshta Mula Gandanta. And again, that was in every Vedic astrology text. However much somebody else might want to go on and on with their opinions about what they think of the zodiac, it's simply not the case. Nothing historical backs that up. Anybody can have opinions, but this is why we have science and thousands of years and 3 or 4 guys or every other Vedic astrologer that's ever lived. And if you can't see through that, I don't know, I don't have any pity for you. So it's very clear that this is a shift of sidereal signs, and that these planets have been hovering at this Gandanta point for months. And this re-entrance of Saturn into Sagittarius after this fiery kind of, right on the precipice of this fiery, really unprecedented assault of these senators against the sitting president. Never seen anything like this. And you want to understand, it's taken this long. This transit of Saturn back into Scorpio has made them reflect. And even like in their mind and in the minds of these people, they're like, we should have never done this. We should, in fact, they asked Bob Corker, who was a supporter of Trump, would you vote for him again? No, I wouldn't. Jeff Flake didn't vote for him, neither did John McCain. But it's a reevaluation and an assessment of the cold, hard reality of what we have to deal with now, that this man is extremely dangerous. He is. Their rebuke is a wake-up call to try to warn other senators, other people in power that something needs to be done. You're hearing more and more just common theorizing about evoking the 25th Amendment, Article 4 of the Constitution, which removes someone from office for being incompetent, and trying to avoid the day when it's too late and this guy sends nuclear weapons somewhere or makes a decision that he's perfectly empowered to make that destroys. At that point, they would probably remove him from office if it was for absolutely no reason. But how much pathological lying does someone have to engage in? How much? He lied 5 times the other day about just something with the Gold Star family. He said he didn't say the thing, and then his chief of staff said he did say it, and then he denied it again. He does the same thing he always does. He makes something up. When he's caught on it, he lies about it, then he doubles down on it, then he attacks the people that call him on his lies. It's just this, it's ridiculous drama that never stops. And that's the most benign part of it. The most dangerous part is everything that's not getting done or not being paid attention to. And this is what these congressmen are speaking out about. What these senators are speaking out about. And again, from the other side, that's the progressive angle of it. Again, it's very hard to dispute. You can verify someone not telling the truth. Verifiable false statements. But on the other side of that, you have people hopeful that, well, he's defeating them, he's winning, he wanted these people to lose anyway. So they're also emboldened by Saturn going into Sagittarius as well, and maybe emboldened by revisiting Hillary Clinton's part in the dossier, although I'm not sure what they think that's going to show. It's just going to show that even if she did have something to do with it after it was paid for by a Republican candidate, that's sort of what they're saying. But it's not illegal to have opposition research. The Trump people were saying they were meeting with Russians to get opposition research, which is not a So anyway, on a personal level, again, just to come back to that, you've maybe felt this shift in your own life. So we can feel this as a shift from stress and worry and fear and paranoia towards something more hopeful, and what we can make a commitment to, or making a commitment to what inspires us rather than what we fear. So may take a couple weeks, but Saturn moving back into Sagittarius hopefully will embolden you to advocate more for what inspires you, not be so worried that, oh, everything's going to blow up. And I think we're going to start seeing more voices. And in fact, we also saw President Obama, former President Bush also speaking out. And there's going to be more voices added to the dissent. They're going to get louder. They're going to get louder because we've been through an unprecedented time with the president, for example, who can't even perform the simplest functions, even comforting a Gold Star mom, or if he messes it up, coming out and apologizing, or anything. Just total lack of empathy and whatnot. And we're seeing that this is just not acceptable. And so see this as a metaphor in your own life as well, and join together around your teachings and around things that inspire you, and make a commitment to those things that inspire you rather than those things that you fear.